Good afternoon. This is Kelsey from Kels Reads Things at Anna Porter Public Library in Gatlinburg, Tennessee. I hope everyone is having a fantastic Friday, and I especially hope you enjoy your weekend. Today I'm going to be discussing the books that I read in the second quarter of the year. Can you believe it? We are already in the third quarter of 2021, and thankfully I have been able to read a lot of books this year. So before I discuss the specific books that I read, I'd like to talk a little bit about the genres that I focused on in April, May, and June. I read a significant amount of young adult fantasy, young adult contemporary, a little bit of mystery added in as well, adult fantasy, adult romances, graphic novels, and there was a big focus of themes on diversity and inclusion. Diversity and inclusion are big topics, especially in the library science world at this time, because libraries are a bit of a powerhouse. They are the mitochondria of inclusion. They are the mitochondria of accepting everyone and anyone who walks through our doors. So I believe that reading books that are diverse, or at least providing them in your library, is essential and necessary in order to follow through with what our mission as public librarians should be. That being said, I'm going to go ahead and start discussing with you the specific books that I read from April through June. In April, I read Sorcery of Thorns, the audiobook. It was fantastic. I highly recommend it. Very entertaining, and the narrator was very talented in creating different voices. City of Glass, which is, I believe, the second book in the Mortal Instruments series. I finally said it correctly, guys. I'm so proud of myself. Get a Life, Chloe Brown, which is an adult romance, and I actually only got about 50% through and did not finish it due to just, if you'll see my previous videos, just due to a few content, I guess I should say, choices, and a few other things that just didn't jive well with me, but that's okay. Not every book you read is going to be a favorite. I also read Clockwork Angel, which is the first book in the Infernal Devices series, and the Infernal Devices series acts as a prequel series to the City of Glass series. However, it is recommended by the author and by several authors to read these books in publication order, and I have discussed this in the past, so if you would like to know, please just refer to my other videos when I discuss, I believe it's City of Glass or City of maybe Fallen Angels, in which I give the actual reading recommendation order. From Blood and Ash, the audiobook, this was actually a reread from last year, and I was doing it with a book club that I was a part of. It's an adult fantasy / romance series. Invisible Differences, which is a graphic novel memoir about a young woman who did not realize that she had, or that she is on the autism spectrum, I should say. Not has autism. People don't, it's not a disease, so she is on the autism spectrum. It was wonderful and amazing and very eye-opening. And A Heart So Fierce and Broken, which is the second book in the Cursebreaker series by Bridget Kammerer, and those are retellings of Beauty, or they start off as a retelling of Beauty and the Beast. In May, I read What's Not to Love, a young adult comedic romance comedy, very funny, but very intense characters. So if you do not like characters who are not initially warm and fuzzy, may not be the read for you. Seance Tea Party, which was a middle grade graphic novel that I loved absolutely everything about it, including the characters, the illustrations, the message, the diversity, just everything about it was fantastic, and I highly recommend it. In fact, I read it from the library and then I purchased it because I loved it so much. The Magic Fish, which is also a graphic novel, but it's a young adult graphic novel, and it's an LGBTQ focused graphic novel with also, I believe it's Korean culture is also involved. So please forgive me if that isn't correct. It has been a while since I read it, but I do believe it was, no, it was Vietnam, excuse me, it was Vietnamese. culture. I'm sorry, sometimes I mix my cultures up when I'm reading multiple books at once. A Vow So Bold and Deadly, I read that as the third book. It is the third book in the Cursebreaker series by Bridget Kammerer. I do believe it was a relatively decent conclusion to the series. However, I have seen better, and I was a little bit disappointed because I feel like there were quite a few things that weren't addressed that could have been addressed. So maybe Bridget Kammerer will write another one and officially call that the last one. The Life and Medieval Times of Kit Sweetly. This was an audiobook that I listened to, and it was very much a feminist, modern, young adult, contemporary book, and I loved every moment of it. It was fantastic. Succubus Heat by Rochelle Mead. Now, this is not a library book, and I do not review books that are not in this library on this YouTube channel. Just know that it is definitely an adult romance series, and it's very intriguing. I love all of her books, all the Succubus Blues books, and Succubus Blues is the first one. Succubus Heat, I believe, is the fourth? Yes, I think it's the fourth book in the series. But that's why I haven't discussed any of the 1 through 6 of that series, because they are not available here at Anna Porter Library. And finally, in June, I read City of Lost Souls, which is the fourth book in the Mortal Instruments series by Cassandra Clare. I finished Clockwork Angel. I can't believe that. I think I started it in April and didn't finish it until June, so there's that. Clockwork Prince, which was very good. I did officially finish that like 2 days ago, so I guess I should probably include that in my next quarterly book review video about the books that I've read in a quarter. Succubus Shadows, and I also read Succubus Revealed. So that was the last 2 of that series. That was 5 and 6. And finally, I started The House in the Cerulean Sea. I think I'm still at like 35% because I haven't picked it up in well over 2 weeks. So I think it's time that I pick that up again and let you guys know what my thoughts are. But so far, I am pretty much thoroughly enjoying it. Okay, so now I'd like to discuss just a little bit about my reading habits, especially for this last quarter, and why they are my habits. So I read a lot of fantasy, which is nothing surprising for me. I'm very much a fantasy reader. I love fantasy because, in my opinion, it offers an escape for the reader. It offers us a chance to throw ourselves into a world that isn't at all related to the one that we are occupying, which is kind of a relief for me because the real world is exhausting. And that's not to say that I don't love real life. I do. I love real life. I love being a real person with real responsibilities and being a human. But at the same time, it's just so much more fun to read about beings that you just don't know if they really exist or not. So, but that's another topic for another day and for a different YouTube channel. I also, of course, read a lot of romance books. I really do love romance. It has to be written a specific way, though. It can't be too rushed, because I like specifically the development of the characters' relationships to each other. That's what I enjoy about romance books. So if it happens just like way too quickly, then I'm probably not going to enjoy it. And of course, diversity and inclusion. I love books that are diverse. I love seeing different characters, different perspectives, different cultures than I am typically exposed to in the day-to-day world of Gatlinburg, Tennessee. I will say our tourism is very diverse, however the population itself unfortunately is not. So any chance that I get to showcase the fact that this library does have diversity and inclusion in their priority list, I definitely take advantage of that. So that's the list of books that I've read in the last quarter. And now I'm going to just talk briefly about the ratings. So for a 5-star rating for me, I have to be, for the most part, pretty invested and thoroughly entertained throughout. I have noticed, though, as I progress with these book reviews, I have become a little bit more critical and a little bit more analytical in terms of how I review. So I really hope that if I ever give a review of a book that you don't like, that you please don't take it personally. I'm just growing as a person, as we all are, and we all have different opinions. So, that being said, my 5-star reads, the reads that I thoroughly enjoyed, the ones that I will certainly recommend to other people include, and this is in the order that I read them, Sorcery of Thorns, Invisible Differences, A Heart So Fierce and Broken, Seance Tea Party, The Magic Fish, Succubus Heat, Succubus Shadows, The Life and Medieval Times of Kit Sweetly, What's Not to Love, and finally Blood and Ash. My 4-star reads include City of Glass, Clockwork Angel, and finally A Vow So Bold and Deadly. And I guess I should preface that with saying that 4-star reads, typically they're good, they're entertaining, but I happen to notice some issues with them. And that sometimes includes just grammatical issues, sometimes it includes problematic, in my opinion, concerns, especially in terms of socialization. And every now and then it's just because I wasn't as thoroughly as entertained as I was hoping to be. So that's generally why I give 4-star books their 4 stars. I do enjoy them, but that doesn't mean I necessarily enjoy them as much as I would have liked. But if it's 4 stars, it's still good. And now my 3-star review. So I'm not even certain if it's really fair for me to have reviewed this book, as I did not finish it, but just based on several of the reasons I've mentioned in past videos, I gave Get a Life Chloe Brown 3 stars for, I'm going to go ahead and just relist them. The language was extremely explicit, and I am no stranger to bad language. I don't necessarily mind it in books at all. I'm not a prude about it, but if you're going to have a specific word in your book on nearly every single page, maybe you should at least alert the readers prior. I will say the author did give a trigger warning note to readers prior to starting the book to warn them that there is examples of an abusive relationship in the book, so I appreciated that. And another reason why I gave it 3 stars is because I thought the romance between characters happened thoroughly too quickly, especially because they were supposed to hate each other. And I know the line between love and hate is very thin, blah blah blah, but I personally just thought it progressed way too quickly. I thought the language was just almost lazy writing. So because I wasn't a fan of the progression of the relationship, because I wasn't a fan of the language that was used, and because in general I just thought it wasn't the best for a first novel, I gave it 3 stars. Okay, so those were all the books that I read in May through June of this year, and I'm very much looking forward to doing this theme video again for this next quarter in September. Or I guess maybe it'll be October. Yeah, it'll be October whenever I do my next quarterly review video. But just so you're aware, I have completed at least a few books so far in July, including Clockwork Prince, which was very good. In fact, I enjoyed it thoroughly more than the first one, and I did still give it 4 stars, but it's more of like a 4.5 star. Goodreads just doesn't let you do 0.5 stars. Alright, my followers, my viewers, my subscribers, and my patrons of Anna Porter Library, thank you so much for joining me today in this video. I hope you enjoyed it, and next week I do look forward to finally reviewing with you Clockwork Prince, and I will probably be doing a review on Hang the Moon at some point as well. It is the second book in the Written in the Stars saga by Alexandra Bellafleur. This one right here. In fact, I did review this book, this first one, I believe it was earlier this year, like in January. So the fact that the other one came out less than a year after is promising, and I will say that I am enjoying the second one, but the first one is still my favorite. At least it is so far. So we will see with time to come, and when I finish it, I'm about 65% through now. Alrighty, everyone. Again, thank you for viewing today. Thank you for joining me, and I hope you have a wonderful, fantastic Friday. See you next week.